in the United States courts. Right now we have investigations going on all over. Hundreds of refugees are under federal investigation for terrorism and related reasons. We have entire regions of the world destabilized by terrorism and ISIS. For this reason, I issued an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration from places where it cannot safely occur.
President Trump's push for extreme vetting back in the spotlight tonight as we learned that this man, Omar Amin, who was just arrested in California, is believed to be a high-ranking member of ISIS who came to the U.S. posing as a refugee. Trace Gallagher's live in our West Coast newsroom with this story. Trace?
Sandra, when the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force converged on an apartment complex in Sacramento, they knew they had a high-level target. Prosecutors say not only was 45-year-old Omar Amin a hitman for ISIS and al-Qaeda, he was also a founding member of al-Qaeda in Iraq and a high-ranking ISIS terrorist. Court records show that back in 2012, Amin fled Iraq to Turkey, where he applied to be accepted as a U.S. refugee. He was granted that status in June of 2014, the very same time that ISIS had taken over the Anbar province of Iraq. So instead of going directly to the United States, a Baghdad federal court says he came back to Iraq and shot and killed an Iraqi police officer who was lying on the ground. ISIS later boasted about the killing on social media. 5 months after that attack, Omar Amin was living in the U.S. Resettlement agencies certainly try to thoroughly vet refugees, including medical exams and biometric checks, but because many countries don't have extensive documents on their citizens, a complete background check is nearly impossible. The U.S. often relies on the refugee's own story, in other words, the honor system. Experts say Omar Amin is a prime example of why President Trump implemented the travel ban. Watch.
That refugee application was replete with lies and misrepresentations as to his background, character, and past actions with respect to terrorism in the Middle East.
The FBI has interviewed at least 8 witnesses who identify Omar Amin and his father, brother, and cousins as being affiliated with al-Qaeda and ISIS, and who are believed to have planted numerous improvised bombs in an effort to kill coalition troops in Iraq. Because he's a flight risk, Amin is being held in Sacramento without bail. He will likely be extradited to Iraq in the next few weeks to stand trial for murder. He could face the death penalty. Sandra.
Trace Gallagher, thank you. Here now with more on this is David Bossie, a former Trump deputy campaign manager, president of Citizens United, and a Fox News contributor. Good evening to you.
Thanks for having me.
A suspected ISIS killer comes to the U.S. as a refugee. Does this further make the president's case in pushing for a more secured system?
This is exactly the reason that this president has decided that border security is a national security issue. It is one of the reasons that he got elected in the first place, was to stop this. Barack Obama failed the American people throughout his presidency on this one issue. They had what was called rigorous vetting. It was ridiculous. They let all of these refugees in. They had no idea who they were or what their backgrounds were. This is a cop killer in Iraq that we let in this country, claiming to be a vegetable salesman or a trader. This is outrageous conduct by the Obama administration. That's why this president got elected, and that's why in the midterms, the American people have to understand the very stark differences we have here. We have open borders. We have sanctuary cities. We have, weak vetting by the Democrats. And on the other side, you have a border wall. You have border security. You have ending sanctuary cities and border security. That's what this president, that's what the Republican stands for.
And we've heard that time and time again from the president, that Democrats are weak on border security. We will probably continue to hear that message.
We will. And just thankfully that the FBI and the police were able to catch this animal before he was able to do any further damage.
So does this give the president more momentum than you suggested?
It certainly does. Look, this is a very good example that we need to talk about between now and the midterm elections in November. The American people have to understand the very real differences for the security of our children and our families about what it means to allow these folks in here without a proper procedure, and from these countries that are bringing forward these violent hitmen. This guy is a hitman.
Meantime, having worked on the president's campaign team, David Bossie, I've got to ask you about the latest from Omarosa. She has now